Hey y'all, it's your host, Avery Carl. Welcome to the Short Term Show special episode series on Scottsdale, Arizona. So in these 10 episodes, we're going to take a deep dive into the Scottsdale market, but I want to note a couple of things for you guys first. So if you are looking for current income numbers and current purchase prices, or you want to set up a search of Scottsdale properties, you can do that at our website, theshorttermshop.com. You can also connect with us there to get connected with our Scottsdale agents or any of our other markets, any agents in the other markets that we work in. So hope you guys enjoy our Scottsdale mini-series, and we'll catch you guys later. Be sure to join our Facebook group. It's called Short Term Rental, Long Term Wealth, same title as my book, and we'd love to connect with you there as well. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Short Term Show special episode series on the Scottsdale market. So in the previous episode, we talked about income numbers. On this episode, we're going to talk about expenses. So to help me do that, I have a great panel of people. We have our agents in Scottsdale and Treb Ryan. I'll introduce them one at a time. You guys are going to be familiar with Leslie and Jessica at this point. But Leslie, go ahead and introduce yourself really quick if people just kind of jumped on during this episode.
So I'm an Arizona native, born and raised in Arizona all my life. Moved outside of Arizona for 6 months. Loved it so much I came back. I am an agent here helping anybody that wants to invest in Scottsdale acquire that goal. And I'm also an investor. So excited to help all clients.
Thank you, Leslie. And Jessica, introduce yourself really quick for those that may not be familiar already.
My name's Jessica Rush. I live just outside of Scottsdale in the East Valley. I work with the Short Term Shop, and I'm excited to help investors that are interested in getting involved in the investment space in the Scottsdale area.
Thanks, Jessica. And last, we have Treb Ryan. Treb, do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, my name's Treb Ryan. I have been an investor in short-term rental properties for a while up in Tahoe. I have recently just purchased my first unit in Scottsdale, and so I have been getting inside that market and seeing it from the perspective of how Scottsdale is different from what I've seen in other places.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and coming on today. So first, we're just going to go through some of the more boring everyday stuff in terms of expenses. So let's talk about electric. I would imagine that the air conditioner here, your air conditioner and your heat is all electric. It's not gas or anything else.
Yeah, it's electric. It's really the one big bill from both the heat and the air conditioning side. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It looks like you just kind of assume with the amount of electricity, but I think that the rates are fairly reasonable. So it's looking like it's about 10 cents a square foot for the condo I'm in. So about $60-$70 a month for a 700 square foot condo. It might get larger with a larger house, but that's in line, if not a little lower than what we would have seen in other locations for the electricity bill. And that's it, just electricity, no gas or other. It's one bill. There is a gas stove, but it's still in that same kind of range.
Okay, so your energy is electric mostly. That's typically, it gets really, really hot in the summer here. So that's going to be kind of high in the summertime, right?
Yeah, it should get higher in the summertime. What we're seeing, again, looking at some of the previous pieces, it's not as bad as you think. Also on top of it, to be really straightforward, one of the nice parts about the Scottsdale market is, I guess it can be called a feature instead of a bug, is that you tend to have a true kind of off season in Scottsdale, unlike some other locations, which is actually built into how we have the property. Meaning there's not going to be as many people in it in the summertime, and so you can keep the place at a little warmer temperature, be a little more efficient, keep the shades drawn, those kinds of things that would often cause that to go up a bit. So it does go up in that note, but not to such an extent that it becomes prohibitive to have it at that time of year.
A lot of electric companies will actually average your bill out for you. So instead of having great big spikes, like if you're going to have a rental that is still going to be used during the summertime, then and you're still having to run electricity and use your air conditioning. A lot of electric companies here in the valley, they're sensitive to having really high spikes in your electric bill during the summertime. So they'll actually average your bill out over the whole year. So, and that's what we do at our house, since we, are using it all year round. And I think we were in like the mid 100s, I think, for electric bill. But they also, a lot of houses in the valley do also use gas for heat as well.
So if we're using gas for heat, well, let me back up a little bit. So sometimes there's gas for heat. Is it common to see gas appliances like gas ranges and things in this market? And are there many fireplaces? And if so, are they also gas?
Yes. So I don't know about Leslie, but a lot of the gas fireplaces that I've seen are gas. Very few wood burning fireplaces. You see that more like up north in the mountain markets. But yes, a lot of gas burning fireplaces. And then if a client if I notice that there's gas on the property, but the range is electric, then you can actually like pull the range out and make sure there's not a gas hookup there. Because sometimes there is a gas hookup there, but they just have an electric stove range there. But like our house, the house I'm sitting in right now, it has a gas fireplace and a gas hookup for a barbecue grill outside, but no gas for the stove, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, and I misspoke. We do have gas heat, gas fireplace, and a gas stove. I misspoke, that was in the APS, which is the power company's bill. But now I'm going through it right now and rereading it. Actually, that's included in the HOA in our case. So the only bill, and I've seen this pretty common in the Scottsdale market. Matter of fact, I've seen a lot of locations when you're looking at condos that even include electricity, which I found to be quite surprising considering what the use is. But, in this market, it seems to be pretty common. Under your HOAs, you would have water, obviously garbage, gas, sewer, all included within the HOA dues, which is actually one of the things that made in this particular case, where I've done houses in the past, it was a very appealing from a simplicities perspective because you can get a very consistent, and you only have to have one bill to remind to pay, or two, as opposed to having to remind to pay 6 or 7.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that since you brought it up. So do we see many HOAs here? And what is the typical, obviously, they're not all going to be the same, but what's the typical range we see for HOA fees in this market? And what do they cover?
So from a condo side, I'll let the others speak to the home side. Obviously, they're going to be there with every single condo, but they tend to be the ones, at least the ones I've looked at, tend to be comprehensive in terms of what they cover. Again, like I said, it's unusual for me to have seen in other markets, HOAs. My HOA up in HOAs up in Tahoe do not come close to covering things like sewer or water, much less even sometimes electricity. So you're getting all of those in place. As far as the price point on the HOA, talking about $400 a month for a condo that costs in the $300,000 seem to be pretty common in that range. Within 10% either way. I don't think it's anybody coming up and trying to ask for $800-900 on a cheaper condo, or having a really lower point on a higher condo. I believe, and we'll get this one humongous advantage, and this is something actually maybe Leslie can address on the housing side, but I can see it on the condo side. I also think they must be covering a good amount of the property taxes, because the property taxes for condos in Scottsdale are insanely low. When I say low, it's $300 on a $300,000 condo a year. So that's 0.1%. So I'm assuming the rest of that comes in through the HOA fees. Otherwise, I don't know how they'd operate the government without at least a couple more percentages of property taxes. So it even includes, if it doesn't, always there, but the property tax rates are extremely low for condos in the Scottsdale area.
All right. Cool. What about for single families, guys? Do we see a lot of HOAs for the single family homes that we're buying in these markets, or not a ton of HOAs? Or what does that look like?
There definitely are HOAs, especially newer build properties. I'd venture to say all of them have HOAs. So when I set up clients that are looking for a single family in the Scottsdale area specifically, I do try and figure out the communities that have no HOAs. And those are oftentimes the older homes that either have been remodeled or need to undergo remodeling. So it's hit and miss. I mean, we definitely have a market full of communities, and then there are still some that, do not have HOAs, or maybe the HOAs or the CCNRs have, been long gone and just not an issue anymore.
Okay.
I definitely see, just studying the market, I definitely see more properties without an HOA, like starting around between the price point of 450 to 800,000. And they are the older homes. And that area, there are some older construction homes in like the South Scottsdale and the North Phoenix area. So you could be looking at a block building, but I just tell them if we're looking at a non-HOA home, it's probably going to be older. So there's probably going to be some inspection items, but yeah, there are some. So,
and from a purely practical perspective, because I actually had to go through this once on one property, make sure you investigate that the HOAs cover the use of the common areas for the short-term rental guests. We had quite a dispute where the HOA board said that they didn't want short-term rental guests using the pool and the beach at a property. Most of the time I've seen so far that it's not an issue if they allow STRs in the facilities. They allow the users to actually use the common facilities, the guests to use the common facilities. But it is something you'll want to check on if you're paying an HOA, but you can't get take advantage of that for your guests. That might create an issue on what you can rent it for.
All right. All that makes sense. So we do see HOAs. You can expect to be in an HOA. I think that a lot of people get scared of HOAs. So I think this is good content that they'll know going in. Hey, you're probably going to be in an HOA. That's okay. And, not necessarily anything to be afraid of. And a lot of times HOAs do cover a lot of the stuff, especially if you're in a condo. They cover a lot of the things that you'd be having to pay for anyway. So like I'm standing in the bottom floor of one of my short-term rentals. It's a condo upstairs in an HOA, and it's $500 a month. And a lot of people will hear that and they'll go, oh my God, $500 a month. That's insane. That's going to kill my cash flow. Well, it probably won't. You have to look a little deeper into what that covers. So that 500 covers everything but electricity for me. So it covers internet, water, exterior maintenance. I only have to insure what's inside of the building instead of the exterior of the building, which is a lot cheaper. There's a pool that's not private, but the public pool, the HOA pool is like, I could throw a rock and hit it right now, literally. So it's right there, really close to my back door, but I don't have to maintain that personally. So you just want to look at what all the HOA covers, because it covers a lot of things, a lot of bills that I'd be having to pay independently anyway. So it's not just, okay, I have to pay all these bills and $500 a month. It's that $500 a month covers a lot of that. So just keep that in mind. It's not necessarily anything to be worried about, as I'm sure Treb would agree.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you when you go add up your expenses at the end of the year on a home, you have some more upside. I agree with you there with the home in terms of what you can get for the rental rates. But you really do find how much time you're going to be spending on additional maintenance pieces, maintaining the hot tub, keeping the house painted. There's just so many things, landscaping. Obviously is going to be a cost for most people. In most regions, it's going to be significant. So you add those up, and again, the HOA kind of takes away some of the freedom to manage those costs down, but on the other hand, also takes away a lot of the responsibility of those pieces, because you're really just dealing with interior maintenance and cleaning and maybe one or two utility bills. And anybody who's done anything on a full house rental knows that can get to be, 10, 12, 13 items a month for the different areas you're taking care of.
Absolutely. So let's talk about exterior maintenance now. So it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in this market, there's not a lot of market specific maintenance, such as snow removal, or like in beach markets, you've got a lot of corrosion of any metal pieces that are outside. What does the maintenance look like on a property around here? Anybody want to take that?
I'd say one thing that I noticed about exterior maintenance with homes in Arizona, having lived other places, we have stucco siding exterior mostly, so we do have to paint every once in a while. But properties around here are pretty low maintenance because of the desert. They're built for the desert. They're built to last in the desert. So they keep them pretty simple. But yeah, as far as the exterior of the house, there's no there's usually no siding. It's usually stucco exterior. So you paint there, and then we have a mix of like shingle roofs and asphalt roofs. And And as long as you take care of your roof, that's good. But yeah, no rust, no snow, no flooding usually, unless you're at the base of a mountain range somewhere. But yeah, I think it's usually pretty simple.
I agree.
All right.
You guys have, do you have, I know there's a lot of desert landscaping. Are you still using a weekly landscaping service for your properties?
If in my personal property, they come twice a month, so bi-weekly. And I think that's sufficient. But I think that if you have a rental and, you want to, keep up on the landscaping, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have weekly. Sometimes weeds can get out of control depending on, the area in which you live and, the water supply or sprinkler system. So I just feel like, and if you're in an HOA specifically, they want you to keep up on, weeds showing and things like that. Even if you didn't have an HOA, and I feel if it's a rental, it may not be a bad idea, just depending on how much what your landscaping looks like. If it's desert, maybe not as much, but if you have grass, definitely. Yeah.
It seems like maybe you probably don't want to have grass if you're buying here, because it just seems like a lot to keep grass alive. Like I know here in Florida, we don't have grass in any of our single families. We have other types of landscaping like rocks, et cetera, because it's just too hard to keep grass alive here. Yeah. Is that the case there?
Yes. So Jessica had mentioned like the average thing for APS. I was also on, we called it the equalizer program. We transitioned to removing all of our grass and doing, the artificial turf. And then shortly after that, we ended up doing solar. So when you're on, solar, you're not on the equalizer program anymore. They completely remove it. So I'm transitioning from, knowing what my average was literally every month, even in winter months, to, figuring out the ups and downs of electricity use and how that correlates with solar and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like costs are, interesting when it comes to that. It could be, it's just so random. For me though, I saw the water bill completely change when we went artificial turf, like by $150. And we don't have that much grass, but just the sprinklers, the timers, all of that, the drip system, it all just kind of accumulates.
And that's one more system to break and have to pay to maintain as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I was going. When you do, I think sometimes people forget that, or they tell you, why aren't you doing this? It's like, if it's a short-term rental, you need to think about that in terms of the guest experience, but also the maintainability of it. And so many things that you may be able to maintain when you're in the home on your own and may be willing to pay $150 to have real grass and have someone come out and do a mow and blow on your yard. This is a rental property. And can you get there 95% of the way by doing something that is not only going to be less expensive for running, but more durable? That's what I always think is I wish I could search across the internet for when I put something in. Durable, please, durable. Who makes the most durable dishes? Please, I want to know that more than what's the most popular in a set this year. So that I just redid a bathroom. They do not have durable toilets listed when you look up at Home Depot. You have to just kind of work your way through which ones are going to be the most reliable. But you'll think about that with your landscaping. Yes, you're going to have regular guests in there that might require more landscaping than you would need and might require more maintenance because of what you put in, as opposed to something that might be a little more streamlined for your guests.
All right. Well, let's talk about internet for a minute. Let's switch gears to stuff inside the house. So are we just doing internet, or are we doing internet and cable?
You still have cable?
No, I don't. I personally don't. I tell people we were really scared to cut the cable cord for a while because we thought, older people that don't necessarily know how to use streaming services, or there's always going to be a game that somebody wants to watch that they can't get. But since we cut the cord, that's cut a lot of cost from our cable and internet bill, obviously. And we haven't had any complaints. We roll only streaming services in all of our properties now.
I think if you know how to use the Airbnb app, you know how to use a streaming service. So I just gotta go with that. And
that's a good point.
You're right. I was quite the same when I put my first one up about 6 years ago. And the response was the general people who use the Airbnbs have a facility with streaming services. To be honest with you, too, I just leave myself logged in on YouTube TV. Does mean my recommendations show up strange sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't create much of a problem. So
gotcha. And are there any areas, I would imagine not, but in some markets there are areas like this, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Are there any areas where you have a difficult time getting good, fast internet in Scottsdale, or is that pretty much a non-issue?
I can see there being an issue in like North Scottsdale, like on the other side of the mountain range, but in town, I haven't heard of anybody having any issues in town. I think internet's probably plentiful.
Yeah, I figure because it's a very metro-ish market, probably not a lot of internet problems.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not that I've heard.
All right, well, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about cleaners. So, Treb, how big is your property? And what does your cleaner charge you per turn at that property?
Yeah, I had a hard time finding a cleaner.
Really?
Did find somebody who was relatively new to the space, but was quite responsive. So I wasn't negotiating too hard on that. $100 on 700 square foot property, 1 bedroom. Seems again, probably could have found someone cheaper if I'd gone long enough to go down to 70. And that includes, all the regular stuff, linens and dishes and a complete turnover of the place. It just seemed like that was a reasonable price point, that it wasn't going to scare out. And looking across the board was when I looked at just what was competitively out there for other listings in the area. They were all around that $80 to $120 range. So it seemed like it was pretty consistent from one place to the next.
Cool. And does your cleaner, do they provide linens, or are you providing linens?
I'm providing the linens, but they have, and with extra, so they can rotate and take them offsite if need be. And so, that's an option around how the cleaning is going. There's an on-site washer dryer, but if they wanted, they can take a set offsite and do those if time is the important part, and just bring them back for the next guest, or they can do them within the unit while they're cleaning the unit.
Gotcha. And in terms of consumables like coffee filters, paper towels, toilet paper, all that, do they provide those, or do they tell you, hey, Treb, we're running low on paper towels, and you just Amazon it to them?
I've seen both. I'm of the belief that the basic consumables, that anything you're not adding to the place is maybe your own personal touch. Like some people like to do a bottle of wine or something. That should come from if you're an Airbnb cleaner, they should be providing the soap, paper towels, dishwasher detergent, and toilet paper, and have that across the board. I will say, because I was struggling, I've come to a different arrangement with my existing cleaner, where we provide that in an owner's closet and Amazon to them, along with some other things that aren't as common, which in my case is Keurig coffee cups. So I like to make sure there's a full Keurig service for the people who are in place, and cream and sugar. So we just put that together that way. But and again, I've seen both different ones, but generally, if someone's a professional, doing professional cleaning across the board, primarily for short-term rentals, they should have a supply that they keep with them for the stuff that Airbnb requires: toilet paper, paper towels, soap, shampoo, that kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. Is there anything else that costs you money in terms of supplying for the cleaner related to cleaning and supplies?
Not so much the cleaner, but I've expanded my term of consumables to include also glasses, silverware, and dishes, and pieces where I now keep extras of everything in the unit and have the cleaner come in. By the way, I did have to look up a difference from what ash tempered glass is and soda ash, tempered glass and soda ash glasses. I highly recommend tempered glasses, even though they're a little more expensive. Otherwise, the other ones seem to be pop out about 3 every visit. But on the consumables, we also keep a few other items, just so there's always the appropriate stock of the number of dishes you need to have for your unit, the number of glasses you have for the unit, because otherwise, you're going to be spending a lot of time trying to catch up on that stuff.
All right. So that is kind of the end of my list of questions related to just running a short-term rental in this market. Is there anything that I haven't mentioned or that we might have missed that you guys think the listeners would benefit from hearing in terms of expenses of running a property in this market?
And I don't know if you're covering this in the purchase cost. The one big expense that that I looked at coming into both the Scottsdale market and just buying in general right now is interest expense. Of course, the interest rates have significantly changed the calculation more than anything else is going to be probably your biggest expense, assuming that you're taking some sort of loan out on the property. It's not a big bother for me because I'm not doing this on a short-term basis where I have to make immediate cash on cash for the investment. But it is going to have a view on what the availability of the different units are and what you can purchase. The big advantage is that as interest rates come back down, that should take a property that you've bought and maybe been at a break even, and over the long term become a significant, much more significant generator of revenue as you can refinance the property, which is, by the way, how you should do all real estate. You don't play it for the short term, right? You don't play it in the short term, but you're looking about it for what the long term value is going to be. And a lot of people jump out when things like interest rates get on them. So there's a real opportunity, I think, right now, if you're looking to invest. If you can hold while interest rates are up, you're going to see a decline in the interest rates over time, which just which should be a growing, value of what you can get on a nightly rental. Really, over a few years, can make it the property much more valuable for you, just by showing patience and planning to buy and hold on it.
All right. Anything else that we feel like we might have missed that listeners need to hear?
I think another item, but I don't know enough about it, would be a heated pool on like a non-HOA home, because a lot of pools here are heated. I don't know, and they're a lot of times propane. So, but I don't know what those costs generally are. I think the good thing, the positive thing about pools on like a single family home, especially on a non-HOA, if you're going to own that and pay that bill, is that most of the pools here in Scottsdale are smaller pools, play pools. People just want something to get wet in, but I don't know enough about typical expenses around the heated pools, but that's something to consider, because a lot of the single family homes do have pools and are heated, and great. I think it's a big positive to be heated for the wintertime, but
I will play off that, Jessica. I've noticed a lot of owners that will charge like an extra fee to utilize the heated pool to offset those costs. So like I've seen them as much as $200, starting out to about $350, depending on the size of the pool, like you said, just per night or per day that you decide to utilize the heat on it. So it's, you can make up the cost by charging extra if you wanted to go that route.
And I do have property owners that have the smart technology with their pools where they can control the temperature of the pool remotely. Yeah.
Yeah, we have that.
And it does remind me, to get a little off on that. And speaking of charging fees, because you would think it wouldn't, but it's a regular expense. If you do allow pets, I would recommend charging the pet fee, because you are going to have a carpet cleaner on retainer. Outside of your actual regular cleaners, you will have to have someone in on a very regular basis if you want to maintain the property to the extent, no matter what anybody says, their dogs are going to pee on the carpet or the rugs. And so you're going to have to get those taken care of if you allow pets into the property. Yeah.
Who has carpet anymore? No carpet.
Unfortunately, it's still quite big in Tahoe because of the warmth of it. And even as I've eliminated, you still have rugs. And so, and when you're taking the type of the large area rugs you have in place, you're still going to have, it's still easiest often to get someone to clean it than it is to go take it out to the
carpet. I'd say carpet
is not allow pets. Yeah, it's one of the two. But if you allow them, you will have, I looked up, it was one right now, I probably got a hire was $1,400 last year on carpet cleaning.
I put carpet in the same category as I put real grass in this market.
Yeah, there you go. You may have to go in there and scrub out get the grass replaced every once in a while too. If you're allowed that, so.
When I come across listings and it's like new carpet installed, I'm like, oh, what a waste of money. Rip that out.
Yeah. like I said, it's primarily a Tahoe thing because of the warmth. But even so, I've now replaced it in a couple of units with hardwood and area rugs, but they're still going to pee on the area rugs. Unfortunately, dogs seem to have a desire to do that over the hardwood for some reason, so they find the spot. Either way, there's a cost associated with that if you're allowing pets. And again, my recommendation is just charge a pet fee, and you can cover those costs pretty easily.
They just want to make sure all the other dogs know that this is their Airbnb.
I know. They do.
Okay, yeah. So big one that we missed, pools. Duh. There's a lot of pools in this market. You're totally right. You got to have a pool heater. If you buy a property without a pool heater, you get one. I bought one in Florida without one. And I was like, you don't need a pool heater in Florida. Yes, you do. It will extend your season significantly. So, and we do charge, I think we charge like $50 a day for the pool heater. So definitely worth doing. And I think that's really important. It costs us about $150 a month to maintain our pool. Nothing too crazy. And our pool is not the newest, nicest. It was put in, I think, in the early 2000s. It's a liner pool. So other nicer ones are probably less to maintain. They're probably a little better. Definitely something to keep in mind, though. You guys covered pet fees. Yeah, I think we covered it. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Listeners, if you are ready to buy property in Scottsdale with the short-term shop with Jessica or Leslie, you can email us at agents@theshorttermshop.com and we will hook you up with them. Or if maybe you're not quite ready to do that, you just want to hang out and learn more about short-term rentals, there's a couple places you can do that. The first one is in our Facebook group, same title as my book. It's called Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth. On Facebook, there's about 60,000 people in there just hanging out, talking about short-term rentals. Or if you guys have more specific questions, every Thursday, we have a live Zoom call Q&A, and you can join that at strquestions.com. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.